There's a Friar Bulgano, I think he's called, and
No.
he's basically he's like a call to action.
Yeah.
Go on then,
No, but before that, Charlie, you've told me off for this before for not introducing our guests properly. Yeah? And let me introduce Katie, right? Katie is a new person to us, right? And first of all, it's really excellent that we're back doing Three Amigos after about a 4 or 5 weeks break. And it's really nice to have a really special guest. So Katie is someone like, it's lovely to have met you, Katie. And I've only briefly bumped into you at Crownington for a few minutes last week, but I could sense, what a lovely person you were, what an interesting person you are, right? What really caught my attention. Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, you could just sense, you're a great person. And what fascinated me was you were just saying that, you just travel everywhere. You go all around Europe. You go to Dubai. You're a businesswoman. You've got all kinds of things that you do. I understand that you're a model. You've got products. You've got all kinds of stuff going on. In fact, your portfolio. You've got some magnificent assets, I have to say. So, so tell us a bit about yourself.
Where do I start? I don't know where to start. Originally, I used to be a manager in a call centre. I worked for DPD, and I used to have a team of over 40 that I managed. I managed like different floors of staff as well. So sometimes about 500 people at one time it could be. Very busy, very stressful. Love working with other people, but ever since then, and especially since all of the stuff that's happened with COVID, it's made us realise more than ever that I have to follow my own goals, my own dreams, my own ambitions, and I just can't wait for somebody else or stay in the system and be told when I can go on a holiday. Like, I like to do what I want to do when I want to do it and how I want to do that. So I think from then I started travelling around the UK. I made the jump to actually leave work as much as I didn't want to leave my team. Loved them a bit and I loved developing them. But yeah, then I moved down south and I started becoming, I went back into doing BE as I've been doing.
Carry on. Just excuse me while I put another log on the fire.
Yeah, no worries.
Another log on the fire? Wow. Fire.
So yeah, I went back.
It was something that we were just talking about, Katie, there about there's like a lot of issues at the moment where I think particularly with the weather changing, where people are so used to going abroad when the winter kicks in, but we get all these tales, about like what it's like to travel. And I think you've had a couple of incidents, haven't you, in your times?
Yeah. I got, yeah.
Perhaps you'd like to tell us about one or two.
I'll tell you a little bit, I guess. Well, I think so. From there, I went back into being a beautician and doing it self-employed. But I realised I couldn't travel as much and I was restricted. So that's where I went on to the online work, more modelling, and working with brands, getting paid for stuff like that, doing collaborations with people. I have a little team that works for us online. Which has allowed us to travel non-stop since COVID. So the first lockdown, I abided by, if you want to say, but I knew it was just bull crap from the start. But I thought, we'll see how it goes. But then from then, I've not stopped traveling. I've been to Dubai for over 5 weeks. I moved to Cyprus for 9 months, opened a salon during lockdown. Well, this is when it was back open, because you know what it's been like. It's been open, shut, open, shut, open, shut. So it was quite a lot of risks to take with that. I've went to Spain over 5 times, I would say, in the last 2 years. I'm trying to think how many times I've actually travelled. I've lost count.
Yeah, so I mean, it hasn't. So the situation hasn't prevented you from travelling at all, then?
No, it's made everything a lot harder. So sometimes I've had to rebook flights, or I've had to find new routes around things, new ways around stuff. because I'm not vaccinated and I don't plan on ever getting vaccinated. I don't agree with it. I think we've all got strong immune systems. If you cut a lot of things out that are bad for you. So yeah, I know things are starting to get a lot tighter now, but I still, as far as I know, as long as you've got your PCR test and you just follow their certain little rules, you're absolutely fine. I mean, I've just not long came back from travelling. I've been up and down the country as well, and I've also been abroad. It was about 2 weeks ago, and the only time I wore a face mask was when I went through security at the airport. They didn't scream at us or shout at us, whereas I have had a lot of instances like that. I mean, twice I've been detained off the plane for not wearing a face mask, but once I'm on the plane, I'm on your plane. What are you going to do, chuck us off?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
Parachute.
sorry, but I don't want to breathe my own shit in. Like, everyone's entitled to their own choice, and I think they're taking away everyone's own opinions and own choices, and it's like a divide and conquer with it. It's like vaccinated against unvaccinated, people against this belief, against that belief, and it shouldn't have divided people the way it has, but unfortunately it has. And one thing I did at first, I had a lot of respect for the views, but if I continue to not travelling and not doing what I want to do, then that's not me staying true to my own beliefs. And I don't believe in what's going on. Like, I really don't. So I've made it
I
more
think you
point to
hit
travel.
on a valid point there as well about you're not wanting to breathe in other people's, like sort of exhalations, shall we say. We were just saying that we've all had, in here, Chris coughing there. I've had a cold. I know there's other people within our community who've had colds as well. So that's
Yeah.
the thing, I mean, like it's the ridiculous situation where we're made to be blamed for it. There was one person who I know who
Well,
was
what happened?
their relative.
The cold and flu. What
I
happened?
know
The
it doesn't
common
exist
cold and
anymore,
flu's
man.
disappeared.
Oh, it doesn't exist anymore, man. But they had
Disappeared.
there was one person who they went to their families for Christmas, and of course they're all jabbed up to the hilt, and she
Yeah.
was the one who was ill, and of course they'll be saying because you're not jabbed, you're the one who's being ill, and it's like, well, and it's this ridiculous game. This is the game
It,
they're trying to play, and it's
it
happening
is.
with everybody.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, I think one thing that triggered me and made us realise a lot with it is because I knew myself that they were fudging the figures with the statistics about things which they have done on the government website. They've done it on loads of different things. But personally, I know myself, I've seen it happen firsthand. My dad, he unfortunately last year, he killed himself. Now, they tried putting COVID down on his, and they did with a few people I know personally. So it's not just something that I know over the internet or a conspiracy theory, a theorist that people would want to say or anything like that. I've seen it firsthand myself. So, and a lot of people I've spoke to know this. I just don't understand why people don't turn the TV off, do their own research, look into things, and they'd realise and smell the bullshit that's out there. Because
Exactly.
the media it's easier to control a population that's feared, and that's all they're doing. And I feel really bad for them people that don't have the knowledge or the own want to find out. Because I've seen loads of people that I know personally getting their kids jabbed and stuff. Like, at the end of the day, you don't know if you're going to stay alive for starters, so that you're being selfish towards your children. You could leave them without a mum or a dad.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
And more importantly, your kids, it's your future, it's their generation, their future, the generations to come, and everything that's going to suffer the long term. No one knows the long term effects and damage for something that's 99% effective.
Exactly. Yeah. It's ridiculous. I mean, like, well, we all know the situation, where it's all just fear porn, where everything is just people are just lied to blatantly. You mentioned there about like figures and statistics. This is the ridiculous thing. On the CDC, on the websites of the people who are actually trying to like sort of put forward the science, they've actually got the true figures on the website, but they're hidden away and pushed around and like in like sort of in all these
Not
different
easy to
little hidey
find.
holes. So yeah, so they're actually saying that what it is, it's a cold or seasonal flu. Exactly the same people
Could
are
have picked
dying of
something
it,
that
who
was more
die of it
easier though,
every
could you?
year. Yeah, and it's just like I say, they're just weaponized seasonal flu.
Yeah.
Until this year, of course, when it's like when people are popping off because of things like shedding and everything else. And it's just absolutely crazy situation, man.
Well, it is,
But we'll
but
come through it.
It is. But it's one of them things, if you look at the statistics as well, going back to stuff like that, just as an example with it, over the last couple of years, the population of death is still not, it's not higher. It's just the only things that have changed is no longer dies of cancer, no one's dying of suicide, no one's dying of natural causes or sugar, diabetes. Everyone's dying of COVID. They're not even doing any tests to prove that it's COVID. So I don't understand how people are still asleep with the full thing.
Exactly. Did you know that 2020 was one of the lowest excess death years in a decade?
Yes. I see,
you know, it's crazy. Yeah, and I mean, all you've got to do is, like, if you're looking for near empirical evidence, then you've just got to ask funeral directors. Funeral directors will tell you. You know, they're telling you that last year there were no excess deaths, and then this year all of the deaths are like young people dying of old people's symptoms. You know, it's insane. It is. It's absolutely insane. You know. But I mean, like, as I was saying, a lot of people have had, like, sort of these desires to go traveling. So if you had to advise anyone, what would you say was, like, your little snippets of advice? Should people be scared, first of all, of traveling? Should it be fear, or should they just be armed with certain information?
100% not. I mean, everything's got a lot worse over the years at the airport in general. So now you go through face recognition. You have face recognition on your phone. Everything's the system now. Basically, they want you chipped everywhere you want to go, and that's the end goal with literally everything. The control with it, but other than having, like, so sometimes I've maybe had to delay a flight, or I've had to change a flight, and this is where it gets a shame for people that can't afford to do stuff like that, because it has cost me sometimes double, triple the money that it would usually cost us just to have PCR test or have different stuff like that, which is all a joke, an absolute joke. But apart from that, you can still travel as long as you're following their guidelines. But their guidelines that they tell you on the media is loads of bullshit half the time. If you go onto the website of, say, I don't know, I'm trying to think, like Skyscanner or somewhere that you'd book your actual flight from, then there's no problem booking them. I'm very much a last minute person as well, so I kind of know what the restrictions are before going, or like I'll only book like a week or two in advance. Everything changes. But yeah, apart from that, I mean, sometimes, like I say, I've been detained off the plane for not wearing a face mask.
Hang on, before you get to that, right? How do you actually? Okay, you arrive at the airport, right? You're not jabbed or anything. You might have a PCR test showing negative. Is that you need that? Is that something a requirement? You need a negative PCR test?
It depends where you go. So I've travelled from England, so like from England to Ireland, you don't need one because it's UK to UK sort of thing. So like there's another thing that's a loophole in the system with things like, say, as an example, they say you're not allowed to travel to Spain now unless you're double vaccinated, if you're coming from England. But I mean, if you flew over to Ireland, crossed the border at Northern Ireland, then you're in Europe again, and then you just travel over to Spain, and you're not.
Isn't it?
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
There's always a loophole around something.
So what happens when you enter the airport then, and you're going through customs, or you're going through?
I just. So sometimes it depends. Sometimes I'll wear my face mask and I'll get on the plane, and then once I'm on the plane, I take it off because what are you going to do? Trip us off the airplane, sort of thing.
Can I just say as well, when you do wear a face mask, is it one of your own?
Yes. So usually I tend to wear one of my own. I have heard a lot of bad things about the medical ones, which sometimes I have ended up having to wear them though. So it is horrible. Well,
just be warned, because we at our club have actually, like last year, what we did was we actually did tests. We filmed it ourselves, so it wasn't just something that was on Facebook, you know, on social media. We actually filmed the things coming out of them. So we stretched about 4 or 5 of these blue masks over warm water, and we filmed these little things coming out. You know, so if you are forced to wear one, make sure
don't wear the blue masks.
Don't wear the blue masks. Yeah.
I've had it a few times. That's another thing as well. Look at all these spots because of when I have wore them.
Yeah.
I've found I've got spots because obviously with us
Mm-hmm.
traveling the last couple of times I've had to. But I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
say you have to travel in Ubers, taxis, on the trains and everything. I have literally in the last couple of weeks I've traveled so many times and I've been up and down the country, I've been abroad and everything, and I've only ever worn my face mask when I got onto the flight going through security, and that was literally it. Apart from that, I mean, I've been asked once. I've been on public transport with police before. They haven't came over. Usually, if someone comes over, I'll say I'm exempt. And then if they ask for proof, I'm like, well, that's my medical history, which is confidential, and you're not entitled to that through DPA, which is very true. A lot of people don't realise that is the case, but people will push back because it's easier for it's easier for them to just, they don't, because I think the people right at the bottom, like say what the people that are taking the train tickets, or like even the police, they're the bottom, they're not the elite at the top that knows everything that's going on or whatever. They're just doing what they want, they're getting told to do for their minimum wage that they are trapped within a system of slavery, really.
Well, one thing that me and Chris were just talking about before you came on was how we found in our personal experience how people seem to be waking up. Have you found that as well in your circle, or is that
a
something
lot of
you've
people
experienced?
I find a lot of people I cross paths with, especially over, like I say, the last 2 years of us traveling. I feel like everywhere I've gone, it's been quite universal. I've connected with the right people I've needed to. I've got information through them. They've had information through us. Like, we are a connection of the source. Do you know what I mean? And it's been beautiful and it's been magical. And I think sometimes, like, God, I've been through some really dark stages. Like I say, last year with my dad, that was a dark awakening for me. It really was. Because before that, I'd woke up loads, like from being a kid. I really have. I've been aware of everything. But kind of, you always go back to sleep. It's the way you're programmed in the system.
Well, you know, this is the thing when you say there's like that 100 monkey syndrome, where basically, I mean, for people who don't know, there was like, I don't know whether the macaque monkeys or something like that that were living on the Philippines, and these little groups where what they were doing was they were going down to the river and washing the potatoes in the water. And I mean, part of it was clean it off, but then obviously, and they found out that it was like the salt was making it nice and tasty. Now, obviously, the other tribe, you know, like sort of, is a monkey a tribe? I don't know. Other monkey members, anyway. And what they would do is, obviously, they would watch their peers like sort of doing it, and they would do the same thing. But there were other communities of these same macaques who were completely isolated on other islands. And it seemed to be when the monkeys on one island reached a certain threshold, I think it was about 80 or 90, for some reason, the monkeys on the other island who hadn't been exposed to this at all started to mimic that behavior. And this is the thing where I think, you know, like sort of where when you're saying about like our positive approach to things, this is what we have to think. This 100 monkey syndrome, the more people are ignited by what we do, then it will have this almost ethereal, you know, like sort of background effect to waken people up. Because me and Chris were just saying, the people that we've spoken to personally, there definitely seems to be, if not an awakening, at least a kind of sickening of the narrative.
Question things, and they're like, this doesn't make sense, and stuff like that. Or like, I know quite a few people that have been jabbed, or they've had their first jab, and then they don't plan on going for their second jab because of things like, I mean, it's just crazy how people even are, especially after they've came out on the TV and anyways and said like it's not effective, it doesn't stop it, you're just exactly the same either way or other. Like, it's like they're making a fool out of people and people are still going along with it. It's absolutely crazy. It's bizarre. It's
what you learn as well that my connection is crap. So every now and again, it just sounds as though people are like sort of Stephen Hawking having a heart attack, you know? And it's like, I'm like sort of,
right,
you know, like just pretend I can hear
it. This is such an interesting topic. This morphic field of like mankind, that a certain understanding, we reach a certain understanding, and then the rest of us We all get it. We all feel it. But before we get too heavy into things, I'm still interested to know a little bit more about Katie's experiences traveling. Katie, do you have any particular any situations where you've encountered that you've had to deal with in your travels?
Well, other than the ones I've already told you, I was on a bus once in Cyprus going camping, taking my nephew and my sister camping, and I wasn't wearing my face mask, but I had an exemption card around my neck. So some lady must have rang the police. So the bus got stopped, and this bus was stopped for over an hour and a half. It didn't just take one police officer to come on and tell us that I should be wearing a face mask or ask about my exemption. It took over 3 police officers. Then from there, I says to them, like, I'm not obliged to give you my details, which you're not legally. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm not doing nothing wrong. I'm not harming no one. So legally, I haven't caused a crime. So technically, they do not need to know my details. So yeah, that we went back and forth for a little while. By this point, we had another 3 police officers turn up, another 3 police cars. They took us off the actual bus and told us and kept threatening us. So that if I didn't get
all because of a mask.
All because of a mask. When I had an exemption card on me as well, but because I didn't have paperwork. They said that they said that, and then everyone on the bus, obviously at this point you can imagine how isolated I was feeling, because everyone on the bus is hating us at this point. But like, my beliefs are different than theirs. Like, even they agreed. They were like, it's stupid, but just put your mask on, like, so we can go. I'll give them their details, because they wanted to give.
Isn't it ridiculous? It's stupid, but just do it. You know what? This is the thing that's bloody dragging
well
the world
done.
down.
Well done for making that stand.
Stupid, yeah. Yes, excellent.
So yeah, they did try to take us as well. They tried to take us down the police station. I said, if you do take me, it's going to be unlawfully, so it is going to be kidnapping. I will be pressing charges back against you if you do touch me. So I mean, we're going to have our day in court still about this, which I'll fight all of the way.
I mean,
excellent.
I must admit, my signal is very poor, so I'm just picking up little bits and bobs here. But was something mentioned about going to court or something there? Or did I mishear that?
Yeah, no, I'm supposed to be due in court with them, but I'm going to learn more of my own jurisdiction first before I go in against them. But the court is.
Well, do you know, this is the thing. Like, if they're talking about going to court, then we've had this before. Remember with Mark Steele just a few weeks ago, with him and. Help me out, Chris.
Mark Steele, what? I don't know. Regarding what?
The gym.
With oh, come on, man!
Are you talking about? Are you talking about Eddie Elwood?
Eddie.
No. It was.
That was to do with the council.
Yeah, it was after the protest, where what they'd done was that basically they'd had to do like a risk assessment for the protest, and essentially what they'd put down was they essentially said that it's all a hoax. There's no such thing. Now, when they went to court, and they said them, so this is right. So you're admitting that there's no such thing, and what they said was no comment. So that was like the official version, no comment. So this is the thing. What they don't want to do, and what they don't want to do is they don't want anyone in court, because that will basically show it up. I mean, what happened was, I don't know whether you know or not, Katie, but about a year
they're
ago,
admitting that it's a hoax. They're admitting it. Yeah. By saying. They're admitting that the risk assessment was good.
Because you can interpret by them not commenting.
Yeah.
But about a year ago, I was arrested in Newcastle after an aborted protest. We didn't have the protest. And what I did was, it was out of all of the people there, it was bloody ridiculous. They knew who I was, you know. So, I mean, I was the only one, me and someone else was arrested.
There's a difference between you, isn't there? You as an actual person, so they have to get you to fall over into their legal system, and that's why they address you. They address your name. You and your straw man. I don't know if you've watched the straw man on YouTube, or if anyone's watched that. But there's a difference between your legal name, and that's why they have to send things through the post, because it's an invitation, not legal requirement. But as soon as you
Well,
give them
what they kept doing was I got one of these stupid letters through about a fine, you know, so I just ignored it. In fact, what I did was I just put a line through it and just said not known at this address because of that, you know, like because your capital letters is your fiction. And so they sent us another one to say it had been rearranged for another court. So I sent that one back, not known at this address. And then finally, I got one through, I think on about the third or fourth letter, where it just says, well, we've dropped the case, we're not going to press charges anymore, because they don't want people to go to court. And there was another lad who was arrested on the same day as me. And at one of the protests, he said to me, oh, yes, because I've been to court. And I says, what? And he says, oh, yeah, well, I got like a summons to court. And like you say, it's just an invitation. So like I was saying, well, what the hell did you go for? Why are you playing their game?
Like I've got one here.
Don't play their game. Yeah.
I've got a summons for 14th. Yeah, no problem. You know, I've got that sorted out. 12th.
Crazy. I mean, well, even if they give you a fine, even if they try you in absentia and like sort of enforce a fine on you, you just don't pay it. You know, just don't be part of their system.
Yeah, well, I've got to get a reply to them in the next day or two, but I don't have to say anything.
No,
I can just say nothing.
Yeah.
But then I would have the hassle of them knocking on the door and all that stuff.
No. You
Yeah.
wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't, because we know from like sort of, you know, like that from common law that they can't trespass on your property. They're like vampires. They can only come on if you invite them, you know, which is like sort of, I don't invite you, you can't come in. You know, they might try and use all this double talk. But essentially, I mean, and I think as well, what we should all be doing is putting notices on the door to that effect, you know, like you are not, well, you know, any trespass, I'll fine you for it and everything. Yeah. So, you know.
I've got a notice saying private by appointment only. But my
that's it.
But my concern is that what the court said in their absence, they say they would issue I don't know what they call it, a liability order or something, and then they sell the debt to a bunch of thugs who don't understand anything.
Exactly. Well, I got exactly the same thing when I stopped paying me water and me council tax, and I would get like the passed it on to work.
The contract, though, isn't it? That's where they do start the letter system, and that's where they start getting the contract, and then it's a binding.
And again, all you do is you just ignore the letters, ignore the phone calls, ignore. You know, so. If everyone just stopped complying, if everyone just had if there was a national program of civil disobedience, they wouldn't even follow up with letters, because there would be so many people that it would be, you know, impossible from an administration point of view, you know. Everybody's just got to start saying no.
Do you know what I think people seem to forget as well, and a lot of people probably don't know this, because I didn't know this a few years ago. The government and the police, they're a corporation, they're a business, just like myself. I'm a business, just like the chip shop down the road's a business, just like Halifax is a business. Do you let them rule your life? You don't let them take your freedom, your control. You don't let them do enough. So over time and over the centuries, I think, I don't know how long the police have been around, or the government or whatever, but I don't know, I think this is where they gain their control, and I think all of this is another mass manipulation of gaining control as well with it. And I think people need to remember that it is a business. You don't need to comply with them. Once you sign your contracts with them or do whatever, that's when you're going into contract with them, the same way as you get a contract with your phone bill, the same way as you get a contract with your house. It's your choice. You're not
McDonald's. Yeah, just like a corporation, like McDonald's.
Exactly, it's a corporation, it's a business.
As well, that a
and over time, we're allowed
has to have a minimum of 2 signatories.
Yeah, we know that.
There's half of this. My signal is so bad. I'm just picking up little bits. But I heard a little bit there about contract. But remember as well, this is how when you go down the line, of things like not paying for your energy and everything else, because these corporations are dead entities. I mean, the clues in the word corpse, corporation, and because they're dead entities, then there's no signature, and the minimum requirement for a contract is 2 signatures. So the only signature on that contract is yours. So there is no contract. Everything's coercion. Everything's just trying to coerce you into doing it.
Yeah, what we're dealing with is the theatre, because there's all this pantomime and theatre and magic, because they wear costumes, don't they? They've got these police costumes, and they've got these like courts where they've got all fancy sort of Masonic symbology and all this stuff, which hypnotizes people, and we think, oh, I'm a slave, I belong to this, I'm a product.
As well, isn't it? Which is what advertisement is. That's what the media is. You say something like, what you drive down. I was driving down the motorway, and it says, not like in the UK, but in one of the motorways, it said, please wear your face mask. And then another message, and it's so much, it's all programming the same as school from a small age. That's why they want your kids in an education system instead of yours, so that they can brainwash them, so that they're part of the system. And it's easier because it's mass manipulation from such a young age to make you think that way, to act that way. And I think back in the day, they take about 6 times for this subliminal message to program in someone's brain, whereas it's a lot more now, and that's why you see it everywhere. You see it on even apps. My friend was on Tinder the other day, and she says on the swipe and on the Tinder, it said something about vaccination and stuff. Like, why do you have to push that in someone's face so much if it's for the best of their interest and their health? Show the statistics, show what's inside of the actual thing that you're putting inside of someone's body, and show how that's going to benefit them. Because one minute you didn't even have a vaccine, we was all going to go to hell, this, that and the other and stuff, and then magically it comes up and we'll have a vaccine. Like, it's just bull crap. Like, part of Pfizer as well, I don't know if you've researched into Pfizer, but they've been sued for billions in the past for killing loads of Africans because of previous clinical testing that they've did with vaccinations and different stuff like that. And our government signed the waiver, the same as all of the other governments. If anything happens, if your arm falls off or you die, then you can't sue them. Whereas once upon a time, you used to see adverts on the TV for that saying, we'll give you £1,500 if you join this clinical testing. Whereas now we're openly doing it for free, for our freedom that you already own and have control of if you take it back. It's just... crazy.
Everything's bribery. I mean, well, they've worked out the system right from day one, and I mean, like the difference is between like our community and the wider community who don't see this is just it's their misplaced trust. I think that's basically what it is. I think we're skeptical, and we see the fact that we are taking the end off. We're taking a ride from these people. But the people in the wider community just can't see it, and they have this naive belief that these people are actually have their best interests at heart, and that we put them there in the first place, And like Chris says, it's theatre. It's all theatre, and they have the education system sewn up. Crazy, man. Yeah, they've got
I have to say,
it's like, I mean, Rockefeller's a big part of this.
Oh, right. Now you mentioned Rockefeller. Yeah, it's all starting to come. It's all, I'm seeing, at one time, this Rockefeller, Rothschild was only whispered in the conspiracy theory community. But I'm starting to see connections and links to Rockefellers in the mainstream. I'm starting to hear more and more about how this connection with the Rockefellers. Once we get that link all the way back to them, then we're definitely in the driving seat. We still need to make the arrests, but we've got to have the understanding. This is why I'm so keen to get good speakers to the Porcupine on Tuesday night. When is it? Wednesday night, whatever. In fact, maybe you could come down sometime, Charlie and Kiki, Katie, because we're looking for speakers all the time. Let me do a little...
You can call us like I literally get called Kiki everywhere now, so it's fine.
Well, I like Kiki because people know how bad I am at remembering names, and Kiki is one of those names that you can't really. It's easy for me to remember, but everybody who we've got a regular of about 30, 40 people now at the Porcupine, and we've got capacity for about 80, and we've got some great speakers coming in the new year. We've got like David Alderman's coming on the 12th, and then we've got John Hamer again on the 19th, and then Victoria Sovereign. She's this wonderful spiritual speaker, and she's really into natural law and everything. She's coming on the 26th, and we've got Mark Devlin on the 23rd of February, and I've got I'm pretty sure that once I get into a few weeks, I'll be able to fill every week with a speaker, and I'm trying to get speakers who will broaden and educate us in many different areas.
My signal is absolutely crap, and I'm only picking up every like sort of third word or something like that. But I did hear you say Mark Devlin's coming. Trying to tell me where this is. Where's this?
Oh, he's coming on the 23rd next month.
Where to?
But the Porcupine pub. The Porcupine.
Right.
It's in Billingham.
I want me bum on a seat. I want me bum on a seat for that.
Well, it's first come, first serve. But if you can't get in, you could always watch it live on your phone.
I'll be camped outside. Yeah.
Right. Can I just say an interesting story just regarding the Porcupine? Right. I don't know if anyone's seen it yet, but I posted this. I put in an official complaint to the police, to Cleveland Police. I tried phoning them; they wouldn't listen to me. So I put it in an online form, and basically it said that I'd like to report a crime. It was on the 18th of December 2020, and
My birthday.
they were not wearing masks. There was no social distancing, and it was that meeting, right? And I was saying at the same time, there were, that same month or a few weeks later, the Porcupine, they were having a private function, and the police came in. They burst their way in. They terrorized they traumatized the staff, and they interrupted this wedding, and they've not been able to get the same trade since because everybody believes they've lost their license. They haven't lost the license. They're still open, and so these kind of, and I've got a log number for it as well. So if they're not going to report this crime, if they're not going to invest if they're not going to investigate that the Met office, and particularly that Cressida Dick, she's the criminal who needs to be held responsible. If they're not going to investigate, then they're breaking the law. They're breaking their oath. So if they do cause us any trouble in March, we'll just remind them about that. Are you applying the law equally?
I think that goes back to the news that everyone's actually seen about them having a party last year at Downing Street, though. So what's good enough for one's good enough for the others. Do you know what I mean? There's hardcore evidence there. So why aren't all of them in court right now or on bail for not following the rules? Because I'm sure no one was at that party at that time of year.
Yeah. And do you know what the police said? They said, "Oh, that's political." Well, hang on. It's the law, isn't it? I mean, you've got the
law's there for the best interest of the public, not political. Not. I can't even get my words out. Tongue twisted.
Yeah. Right. Was there another? What topic? What we were talking about? Are we going to go talking on the topic of law and legal, or are we going to go on the topic of action? What should we talk about now? Because I want to limit it to 90 minutes.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what. Can I just tell you an interesting thing that I saw about a couple of hours ago? There was somebody did this little clip that was shown, and it was Alexa, and it was Google. When you say like Google, blah, 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 and then you ask the question. Right now, they asked the question. They said like, "Who's Buddha?" So they went and they explained Buddha was, and they gave the actual name of the person whatsoever. And it says, who's Muhammad? And then it's, like sort of the first prophet of Islam or whatever, like how he's described. And then they asked, who's Jesus Christ? And it actually came on and said, I don't know, I can't help you with that.
Oh
And they
God.
asked it 2 or 3 times. And they asked, like, sort of who Santa Claus was. They
Yeah.
asked who Satan was, and it would tell them. But then every time they asked Jesus Christ, it would, because some of them, what they were saying was Wikipedia says. So they were going off to the Wikipedia. Even though Jesus Christ is on the Wikipedia page, it was just saying, oh, we don't know who he is. And it's like, it's this bizarre agenda, like sort of when we can put all the pieces together, it's so
Yeah.
frustrating when the wider community just don't even know that the pieces are there to put together. So frustrating.
Well, what worries me about that is that they say it's the people who control the past control the future, and if they're like erasing our history already, we're very much at that tipping point, at that risk, right? It's not going to go there, by the way, but we're at that risk that they can take complete control of like humanity and have the mankind a complete race of slaves in this virtual reality, just like in the Matrix that we're going to go and see tomorrow night, Charlie. Yeah, but it's
I
not
haven't
going to
seen
go
the
there.
first one.
Well,
I think that's already partly happened, to be honest, though, isn't it? Like, everyone's on social media these days, everyone's in that sort of system. And I mean, to me personally, if you have to work for someone to clothe yourself, to put a roof over your head, to have water that flows naturally on a planet, food that grows naturally from the source of the ground, then you are enslaved in a system. And anyways, already, like, we already are, we're in modern day slavery. People don't realize this, like, they really don't. Crazy. Like, people
I
don't even.
only I must apologize for I can hear hardly anything. It's such a garbled signal from this end. So if I seem to be ignoring people and just saying my own thing, it's because I can't hear what's going on. I can hear like Mark Devlin. Lord, so it's like just the odd little word punctuated in. But yeah, I heard like when Chris was saying there that we're going to see The Matrix. And like I was saying to him, when there's about 30 of us going, I think. And
yeah,
so it would be quite fun if we're challenged, like sort of, I think it might make a little interesting thing because if we are, I want to see the
yeah,
manager.
yeah. We're going Gateshead View tomorrow night. It should be fun. We won't be wearing masks. There'll be about 30 of us. And of all the films, right? Of all the films, if they do insist that you wear masks, right, to go and see, like The Matrix, well, if people comply with that, did they not understand what 1 and 2 were all about, right?
Yeah.
It's about
How many, which one's this, Chris? Is this the fourth
this
one
is.
or something?
I think it's
Is
the
it a
third. I
remake?
think.
I think it's a remake of the first, is what I've heard, but I don't know because
I
that's one
haven't
thing.
seen any of them. I haven't even seen the
I
first one.
I've only partly seen it, and people have told us like everything that I say, I need to watch The Matrix. They're like, oh my God, it's the visuals to what you're saying in your voice. And I'm like, oh my God. So I started watching it and I got very emotional actually watching it. I was like, I've had visions and dreams of this. I'm like, this is actually literally kind of what we live in right now. To the extent of you don't know, like you really don't know, like it could all be a persona, like you could wake up and it was all a dream. You never know. Do you know what I mean? You don't. You
Well,
just don't.
like I said, this is the thing that I was saying. I mean, like, I've never seen the film, but I'd had this idea years and years ago where I was saying where if you were actually in an isolation tank and you were just had like probes, electrodes going into your brain, you wouldn't be aware
I think
of
yeah.
existence. And I would say to people, is that what the film's about? And they would say, well,
Yes.
yes and no, but it is about that. Yeah, I
It
thought it
is
would be.
about that.
Yeah.
These computer games that these young kids are on like 12 hours a day, they're so immersive. They've got these masks on and they really believe they're in this world.
They're in
And
this
they're so visual. They're so like immersive now that they're not much different to this world. So could it not be that this reality that we think we're in now is already a virtual reality from a previous one, from
Yeah,
a more
I
original
do.
one?
This is where the numerology comes in, isn't it? And the symbology. It's like because the whole idea of the people who watch the numbers. I mean, obviously we know some numbers are contrived. You know, and I mean, like, I'll give you an example. One thing maybe that we've talked about before, Colin, one of our community, you know, who's well into numbers, he was the one that spotted one day that on, I think it was on Sky News. Oh, hello.
Yeah.
That's my phone. Hang on.
There was, he was,
Okay.
go on.
Yeah. I'm sure. You know, I don't know.
I mean,
I'll
yeah,
take the call. Hang on.
that
Look.
agency, is it?
Yeah, you know. Hi, Jenny. How you doing?
Yeah, just take the call during the podcast, Chris. We don't mind doing.
No worry. No worry. I'm in the middle of a live stream at the moment, so I don't know if you want to join us on the live stream, or I can speak to you another time, maybe. Another one, yeah. Oh yeah.
Anyway, Katie,
No
how are
problem.
you?
Yeah, I'm not bad. I'm feeling a lot
Yeah,
better.
send me that link, by the way.
Again.
Yeah.
Okay. Join us maybe next week. Okay, bye. Sorry about that, folks. That was our friend Jenny.
Anyway, I
Yeah?
completely lost track of what I was talking about there because of that.
No, Jenny said that she might come on next week, right? She could join us. Have you met Jenny yet, Katie? You must meet her. How many times have you been to Cramlington?
So I've only actually been 2 times because prior to that I was living in Cyprus, but in Cyprus we have like a community like this where we would all a lot of it was obviously in Cypriot, so my friend used to have to translate for us while we were there.
Because some people might know she used to speak at she was like one of the speakers there, and she's going to join us maybe next week. So
anyway, as I was saying, there was Colin, one of our community, where he had actually spotted where on Sky News, I think it was, where there was something where they had this number across the top, and it was something like 286,425, whatever it was, and he added all the individual digits up, and they came to 33. Well, people who know the significance of that know. Now, he watched it the following day, and it was a completely different set of digits, like a completely different number, but magically it added up to 33 again. So we know that a lot of these things are there deliberately, but if we do come across things in words, for instance, like gematria, you know, when you get like sort of A's 1, B's 2, C's 3, and a lot of people can't get the idea of, oh, well, people couldn't make that up, people couldn't work that out. But if we are in some kind of simulation, isn't this like a little key to the algorithms that are part of the program that are making the thing work, you know? Yeah.
The numbers are the key. Yeah. I'm more and more convinced now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there is a reason for them being there, like sort of it's not just, well, you could say coincidence, but coincidence, what is coincidence? You know, like how random is coincidence?
There's no coincidence. There's no coincidence. We might understand this a bit better next week after we've seen Matrix Reloaded. Sorry, whatever it's called. Are you coming, Katie, tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night, I don't know if I'm going to be in Newcastle just yet, but if I am, yeah, because I'd love to. I'm so jealous if I'm not there, because it would be really entertaining.
Don't worry. We often have a lot of these group get-togethers, so we'll let you know.
This is the great thing, like about the club. You know, it's like sort of where I think there are still so many people out there who are awake but don't realize that there are groups and communities out there.
And do you know what it is? You hit such a good point with this, because for years this is where I struggled until COVID really happened, and like I say, I had a really dark awakening, which I take my hat off. Like, I'm so grateful I connected with someone called Caroline, which we was talking about Caroline, weren't we? She was such an amazing soul. Like, she really helped me understand things and made us not feel crazy, whereas my previous boyfriends or my friends, like before that, were like, you're psycho, you're crazy, like, why, how do you think that? Like, and that's because the system has control of them, whereas I've never been able to be controlled in a system. I've been kicked out of school, three different schools. Do you know what I mean? I can't be programmed.
You naughty girl.
It's just not in my genes. Like if I don't agree with something, I can't just go along with it. Like I really.
Do you know, this is something that's echoed through a lot of our community, where that basically, I mean, like I was never academic. I mean, to a way I was, you know, but it was like, it was definitely conforming. And I think like most of the people in our community just find it, yeah, it's like sort of, it's they're just they were uncomfortable at school with learning. And I mean, like I learned things, but like sort of I hated it, you know, like sort of. And I think
loved it and then hated it. I think everyone shouldn't be put in the same categories and system. You should follow your dreams and your goals, and that's where it takes you away from that. And that's why you end up going working a 9 to 5 for someone else's goal and dream, because you forget about yours, or you trapped in. Like they don't teach you anything how to stay out of debt.
Exactly.
How to start a business.
It's not there.
Beneficial.
It's not there for your benefit. Schools are just factories to produce work units for the system.
Yes,
so you know, it's not. I mean, schools initially, the whole idea was it was to be like to enrich your life, you know, and to help you explore. So whether you wanted to explore poetry or art, or whether you wanted to explore engineering or mathematics or whatever it was, that's what education should be about. And you should be allowed to change. You know, so you might decide that you're interested in mathematics, but then halfway through think, well, hang on a second, I want to do painting now.
For me, because you never know. Yeah,
exactly. You know,
I've done all kinds of jobs, and like now I'm to the point now. I love doing so many different things. I'm just such a people person, and like, but you shouldn't be do stuff.
The sooner you can get out of school, then the sooner you can unlearn all the shit they've already taught you. That's what I'd say.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
Really hard. And I think we're still a generation that's healing from past trauma, which is the end goal, see at the end of the line. But with that, and I think like there's things my parents have unconsciously done and not been aware of, and when they look back on things and they're like, oh my god, why did I do that? And it's a programming from their mom and dad and down the line and until people break free from that. Like, because you're always told not to disappoint your parents, like all of these things. And if disappointing your parent is something that makes you unhappy, then you should do it.
Yeah.
I mean, the main thing that the overall feeling, the way they
didn't know.
Things,
our parents didn't know.
No.
You know,
the way that the people who are pulling the strings, that what they try to do and what they succeed in doing is the fool people into believing that tiny little elite at the top are the hosts of the planet, and we're just guests to be accommodated.
We're not.
You know, and that whatever, exactly.
Reality.
And, you know, like sort of what we just have to take the crumbs that fall off their plate. And this is still the way people think. You know, it's like what we were talking about earlier. If we said something like, oh, I don't pay me water rates, right? Now, they wouldn't think to themselves, oh, he doesn't pay his water rates. I shouldn't be paying it either. The way they think about it is, well, hang on a second, I pay my water rate, so everybody else should as well. You know,
they think the other way around, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And this is the way they've got.
Water is free. Water is free. It's God given.
Yeah. I mean, we're made up of 80% of it or something, aren't we?
With that going on to water is like the biggest thing ever as well. You're paying for polluted water. Like I have it.
I
have
exactly.
a distiller at home, and God, I'm not religious because I do travel a lot and I find it really hard and I do struggle. But when I do get water, I do look at the levels of poison, basically, of what they're putting in it, because there's a lot of stuff that keep your third eye closed. So I find at home, and I think it was only £120 I paid for it. And if you think about it, like over the time of the years, like it's going to serve its purpose cheaper than bottled water, and anyways, or whatever. And you can
is this a filter? Did you say, Katie?
It's a distiller, yeah. So it's an actual. It's not. It's an actual full-on one. It takes everything out, and it's mad because I've tried normal water out of the tap. I've tried water out of bottles and whatever, and they're all still disgusting. Like the residue that you get from it. So with the distiller, I can literally I could even use toilet water if I wanted, and it purified it. But I wouldn't. Do you know what I mean? But and I find
Well, I
that's
mean, this is something that's been declared in like the protocols of the learned elders of Zion and everything going back for years, where they're basically saying where they're going to poison us, and they'll make we pay for our own poison, and when we get ill, they're going to make we pay for our own medication, which will be poisoned again, and it's
Yeah,
this
oh
gloating
my
over
god,
it,
you're so
like
yeah,
right.
yeah,
yeah.
and rubbing it in by the numbers that they
It
put in,
is.
like with the 666s and everything, it's just,
People
it's
don't
mad that,
I think people don't
Yeah.
realize well, like your body is it's one of the biggest like what's the word, biggest machines of all time, if you want to call it a machine or whatnot. Like it can self-heal so much. Like the food that you're eating,
yeah,
processed food is one, that's the biggest thing. Takeaways, stuff that's so easy to just get off the doorstep now. Even our organic fresh food is sprayed with pesticides.
yeah.
They're constantly poisoning you with bad stuff, and they make it where you're not taught how to
Well,
grow.
think about that. There was an art installation, and it was a McDonald's burger, and they had it on. I can't remember where it was, whether it was the Met in New York or something like that. But it was the burger itself. The bun like went stale, and the lettuce and everything rotted away. The meat never changed. It was essentially like a lump of plastic. So it's like it just shows you what goes into it, and about 4% human DNA. Isn't that right? About four
Oh,
percent. Yeah,
But in the
about four
what?
McDonald's
percent in
burger,
McDonald's
Yeah.
human DNA. So like when you're talking about these larger agendas, I think we know where this DNA is coming from. But again, it's something where you would say it to someone, and they would either think that you were kidding or you got it from a ridiculous source, or if they did, they would just think, oh, it accidentally, I don't know, leaked in from
well, can you not remember the horse? Was it the horse meat that was in
horse meat. That's right.
as
Horse meat,
well?
yeah, horse DNA. That's right, yeah. Well, that was how it first started off, because I think they were looking to find horse DNA in the beef burgers. That's how it started off.
Ah,
Then I think they found out that there was about 4% human DNA. Well, do
Oh,
you
good
know?
grief.
what
Do
Yeah.
you suspect
the
where
hell?
that comes from? There
No.
are
Child
hundreds.
sacrifice.
Yes,
Yes,
yes, it's
there are
horrible. That is.
hundreds of
Oh,
thousands, if not millions, of children go missing every year,
daily,
just
daily.
disappear off the face
Yeah.
of the earth. And many of them aren't even registered. Their birth isn't even registered, and so no one knows they exist.
Well,
And
did all of
it
the
just,
dogs
what's
as
that?
well. The domes where there's loads of they have all of the sacrifices happen in tunnels under the
Oh,
ground.
the domes. Yeah, sorry.
The
This
dumps.
sound that
Yeah.
I'm getting through here is it. I've got an awful signal. Sorry. The domes. Yeah, yeah, that's it. So you get like all of these facilities that where these people are just going. Basically, people are going missing and not even being registered. And how do they get rid of the evidence?
Well, they
It's like
sell them in
and then
Indonesia. The parents just
yeah,
sell them for nothing and stuff, half of them, and they'll
yeah,
just they'll sex traffic
yes,
them, thinking they're going to get them back.
that's right,
And even sex
that's
trafficking your
right.
child's disgusting to start with, but a lot of the
Yeah,
times the
exactly.
babies won't come back. Anything from the age of 2,
Hmm.
the younger the better as well. That's what the
Hmm.
honestly. That was one of
Yeah.
the darkest awakenings I've had, is realizing everything like that.
Hmm.
But I think a lot of people are scared to, and that's why they don't. And nah,
Hmm.
it's horrible.
And it's
Imagine
Yeah.
if it was close to
like.
home, though, you would. If it
Mhm.
was close to home, it was your own
Mhm.
family or it was someone you loved, then you would do something about it. But because it's not, then you don't.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right there. That's exactly what it is. It's because people can distance themselves from it, so they can like delude themselves into thinking, well, it's always someone else. Everything that happens, it's always someone else. And I think that's maybe one of the things that was skeptical with me. I always used to think, like when I was younger, when people's parents died or were killed, it was always someone else. It was always someone else. It was always someone else.
Mhm.
Then it happened to me. And I think from that
Yeah.
moment, I think that like sort of resonated with me. It doesn't always happen to somebody else, sometimes it does happen to
Yeah.
you, so
Now,
you've got to
now
be
everybody,
realistic.
now everybody knows someone who's injured by these
Mhm.
jabronis. Now,
Yeah.
everybody knows someone. We see it on TV every weekend. Last weekend, 4 professional footballers collapsed on the field.
Oh,
4.
I wonder how.
Yeah. Bodies everywhere. But there's still this cognitive dissonance. Right. Well, I said I'd like to try and keep it to 90 minutes. Just by the way,
so you're going to finish with a song, Chris? Are you?
No.
Going to sing
No.
one?
Oh,
He said,
do that.
no, Katie. He
No,
said,
no.
He said before, Katie said he sang a song in the middle of the street in Walker. So I says, right, well, you'll have to give a version of that. So I think we should get
All
into
right.
singing, shouldn't we?
No, next week I'll do. I haven't got the
Just gonna give you a
lyrics
drum roll.
queued up. I'll tell you, next time I'll get the lyrics all queued up and we'll all sing it, right? But not this time. While we've still got you, Katie, and I wanted to ask you. You mentioned you spent a lot of time in Cyprus. Now, Cyprus, they experienced this in 2008 during the financial banking crash. Cyprus, everyone got a haircut. They got money taken out of their bank account.
Oh my God!
Bailed
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Do you know anything about that?
Yeah. So I have heard about that, and I've talked. It's 2121, and it hit 12. It hit 2112 earlier. I'm all about my numerology, my numbers.
That's good luck, right? Whenever you notice 2120 or these numbers like 11111, that means we're on the right track. So 2121.
It's angel numbers. I love them.
Yeah.
Into them, and it's like, I love my angel numbers. 1111, new beginnings, fresh starts. I love them all. But going back to what you were saying, so yeah, all of them got money took out of their bank and stuff. It was crazy. I heard about that, but there's quite a lot that's gone on with Cyprus. So there's like on one side of Cyprus, you've got 2 British army camps, and it's basically more controlled by the English. And on the other side, it's owned, and it's physically owned by the Turks. So there's been a divide and conquer system put in place there as well, with the control system and all that sort of stuff. I know a lot of people didn't actually get their money back, and it was because the country would go totally bankrupt basically if they didn't do that. I think some people have actually been given money back for it. But yeah, it's crazy. Like their economy totally crashed. And I know over there with certain stuff, this is how they've started building their economy back up. Like as an example, trading. I don't know if you've heard of trading online and stuff. They now have loads of call centers over in Cyprus. And if you are a trader, you don't legally have to pay tax. Now I think that's changing, and the systems are getting where it's more more managed, or however you want to say it. But yeah, they I've kind of gone off track.
Are you saying that what they did was they pretended, they just basically put on, like, just to extort money from people, they took like an amount of money out of everybody and just called it like a haircut? Is that right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they took it. It's called a bail-in. Instead of getting bailed out by the government, they're bailed in.
The bank used that as the excuse.
Our money in the bank, but it's not our money. They think it's their money, right? So if you've got like 10,000 or whatever in the bank, they think it's their money. They can take it anytime.
Well, they trade with your money, and anyways in the bank account. So your money sits in that bank account, and through through whatever they make money.
And it doesn't exist, yeah.
Yeah, well, it is exactly. It is crazy once you think about it, isn't it? It's just
no. I think it's a good idea to take some out, you know, and we find alternative ways of trading. I came across a really interesting thing called time banking, and I want to talk about this a bit more in future weeks, whereby you have a skill, you register on this website, and you give an hour of your time, and you get like a credit, like an hour of credit. Yeah. But I'm going to explore this a bit more, and there's other things we can do to get off that crazy old system.
Okay, so here's an interesting point then, right, Katie? If we had, let's go down the line. So if we had to put on like our skills, right, and we're gonna like register our skills, Katie, what would you say yours were?
Oh, do you know what it is?
That's a tough question. We'll come back to you. Okay, Chris, what would yours be then?
Oh, I'd have time to do. I'm not brilliant at anything, but I'd try my best.
You had the time and you had to.
I'd try my best at helping people go Linux, right? Because this is a big thing. I want to get off Apple. I want to get off Microsoft. I want to go completely Linux. I could help people do the garden, right? Grow food. I could help people with loads of things. I'll have to think. I don't know.
It's one of them things.
I don't know.
There's quite a lot of little things. I think. Yeah.
No. There's lots of things. I'd like to have music lessons. I'd like to have language lessons. I'd like to trade talent, trade one face to face with real people.
Yeah.
What?
That's what it should be.
So yeah, like I do this quite a lot. Like I'm very actually given. I do take a lot away from like say my own time. Like the more I'm online doing my own business and doing my own things, I make money. But what I have done, I have actually helped quite a lot of people learn how to make money from home. I've helped a lot of people come up with the system. I've helped people, like I do coaching with them, loads of different stuff like that. And I think that's one of the things that I love the most. Like say with us working in having my own salon, and I've just started aesthetics as well. With that, I love changing people's lives. I love making someone else feel good about themselves, and I think that's where I've always strived and succeeded in every other thing that I've done, because I'm good at managing and making somebody else's life better. If I have to serve for my
life coaching.
So well, listen, all my friends say I should go into doing that, because
I used to say, because I haven't done much driving instruction recently, but I'm technically a driving instructor, and it used to be really, really enriching when you got someone through that test. Because as the way I would describe it, it was like being a midwife, being there at the start of a new life, because people could move on, and it felt great, like sort of moving people on. And I think that's the thing as well, like with painting. Mind having said that, like the last two I did a drawing and a painting within the last year anyway, of two women, and with the first thing they said when they looked at them, that's not my nose. My nose isn't like that,
Oh gosh.
So I don't think I would be doing painting, but maybe it's music tuition or something like that. We've all got stuff we can do, even if it's just like sort of saying that you can drive. That's a thing that people forget when they say, "Oh, there's nothing that I can do." I feel like Eric Morecambe. When they say there's nothing I can do, but I mean, like anyone who can drive and you can give someone a lift, like sort of or deliver stuff and that,
Well,
or it's doing it for us rather than for Asda or something,
I always ask, usually before booking a taxi, like I'll message on my social media and ask if anyone that I personally know is doing lifts, to pay them directly and stuff, like to help your community back out instead of helping. Like, I mean, God, I don't hate Blue Line or I don't hate any of the taxi companies or whatnot, but it's like you say, it's better to help someone individually, I think, sometimes.
Yeah. No, I think this is a great idea, and also like I run a business as well. It's playground surfacing, and I do it all online from a website. Keep the products, and I deal with customers and blah blah blah. I'm sure there's a lot of things I could give to other budding entrepreneurs. In fact, if they're good, I'd give them the whole damn business, because I'm sick of it, right? But it's my only income at the moment, but I'm a bit fed up. There's other things that I do, but I'm thinking about doing a bit more of these videos with my business and try and get more people to take over chunks of it. Now,
and I mean, you can micromanage with stuff like that. Like that's another conversation. There's so many different ways you can do that. You can do affiliate systems. You can do loads of different stuff where it takes a lot of pressure off you and you still make money with, I don't know, whatever business it is, but it can be transferred into like nearly every kind of business, especially if it's online.
Yeah, I want to try and outsource as much of it as I can, really. I'll do the basic the basic customer technical, speak to them, but if I could get other people to do that, then brilliant. Anyway, we're coming up to 21:29, and I think what we'll do is we'll finish the show, and then I'll play the Friar Butterini afterwards when we've finished. But I just want to say, Katie, it's been absolutely wonderful having you on as a guest, because it's so wonderful to see like a young person like yourself just totally understanding, totally with it. When a lot of like oldies like Charlie and myself, we've got a lot of, there's a lot of us around, but we don't see that many young people because they all seem to have been so brainwashed. But you're a real like shining example to a lot of people, and it's really good for us to see that there is hope for mankind and humanity. So thank you for coming on the show, and I hope you'll come back again sometime.
Oh, I'd love to. Do you know what? It's just been a pleasure. I've really, really, really enjoyed myself. Like, it's been a pleasure. It really has. And do you know what? There is faith out there. Do you know, like, there's so many people that I know that are younger as well. That, like, obviously, it's how do you talk to a child because of what's what and stuff. But there's so many kids I know that are awake as well, but they just don't know it yet. Like, a lot of them, and it is beautiful to see. And I think you're right with everything. I think a lot of people are starting to wake up more, but I think people these days, and that's where they've got our generation, social media, people are worried about likes, and all they want to do is impress people with this fake life in the matrix that they're living, do you know what I mean? And they forget about what's actually around them.
We have to get away from this ego thing, definitely.
Any last words, Charlie?
A few last words. Oh, that's something. For the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep.
Okay, let's finish on that. Let's finish on that note, right? Okay, how do we normally finish, Charlie? Do we have a outro or anything, or we just say goodbye?
I'll play you out if you want.
Go on then. Good night, everyone. Yeah. See you tomorrow night. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Some protests and tell the government that we don't like what they're doing. Please stop. We probably still sometimes wear the mask, but we're not doing anything to stop it. Now, when there is a criminal conspiracy active, ongoing, that's killing hundreds of thousands of people, you don't go, please stop. It's not going to stop it. And this is why it's going ahead, and people say, there's several groups, we'll never win, they're too great. We'll totally win, we are right. But none of these groups are doing anything to stop it. You're not going to stop this by writing letters to your politicians. They're all bought. You're not going to start this by going to a town hall meeting and telling them to stop. Maybe in some small towns that might work, but in the big cities not. They're all bought. It's not going to happen by legislation. Do you think the globalists haven't bought all the legislatures of the world and all the politicians? They would never have been pulling this off if they hadn't. Journalists aren't going to listen to you. They're all bought. Judges certainly aren't going to listen to you. They're all bought. If not at the lower levels, at the highest levels. The globalists would have never launched this unless they already controlled all these things. We are being given a lot of false hope by these little occasions in which someone intervenes and stops something for a time, or this certain death vax is removed and not others. So it's absolutely essential that we organize a true opposition. And I don't mean a political movement. I don't mean any kind of movement. I mean, we oppose the criminal conspiracy. And how do you stop a criminal conspiracy that's ongoing? There's only one way. You arrest the criminals. Okay, I said this in November of 2020, and people thought it was great. I said it, and I got a lot of claps from it. But no one did anything, and still no one's doing anything. So stop with, I have to found a new political movement, a new political party. We have to organize the opposition. We need a protest to do this and that. That's all useless. There's only one way to stop this, and it's to arrest the criminals. And it's not going to happen by everyone deciding nationwide to arrest the criminals. You got to start arresting them locally. And then you have to spread the arrests, and you have to keep going until you arrest them all. And if everyone's bought, you got to arrest them all. You either have to arrest them for being actively complicit in the genocide of the citizens of your nation, or you have to arrest them on the suspicion of being actively complicit or passively or intermediary somehow or collaborating with a conspiracy to genocide the nation. That's the accusation. This is an accusation made on natural law. If you don't have any laws in your national constitution, your state constitutions, your provincial constitutions, your county or town constitution to authorize citizens' arrest, you don't need it. It's by natural law, which is the right of self-defense. And a government exists to defend the honest people, not to exterminate the citizenry. As soon as they start acting to exterminate the citizenry or gravely injure, kill, maim, or sterilize vast parts of the population, natural law prevails. All human laws take a step back, and the natural right of defense gives every citizen the right to arrest these people. You would have the right even to kill them, but you don't need to go that far. Arrest is sufficient. You arrest them all, and you charge them all. You don't have to hang them, try them, or anything. You arrest them all and try them all. Once they're all arrested and your government's all in prison, then you hold new elections and let the new government decide what to do with them. This is the democratic, peaceful way of doing it. So since that's the only solution, you're wasting all your time, now that you know what the problem is, doing anything else, even going to work, okay? Now, of course, some people need to work to support themselves, but you're all going to be dead unless you arrest these people. Your children are going to be dead, your parents are going to be dead, and you're going to be dead. So why sit around waiting, saying, I need a plan to flee, I need enough guns to defend myself at the house? Why are you waiting for the threat to come to you? You need to take justice to them. You need to hunt the hunters, okay? And so all you need to do is get the people who have been red-pilled in our wake in your town, organize a meeting, get together, and lay out a plan for arresting the mayor, the chief of police, all the police, the judges, everyone in town who's doing the vaxing, the doctors. Arrest them all and put them in the town or county jail. And then when you're done liberating your town, hold an election and elect new leaders that are against it. Raise a militia and go arrest the people in the adjacent towns and spread the liberty. This is the simple, easy, and only solution. And it's not going to stop any other way, because the globalists can't buy everyone in town. And everyone right now wants to be liberated from this thing. So the people are going to back you. And the media can't follow what's going on in every town. So this is the weak underbelly of the Great Reset. And if you don't start doing it, you'll be dead. So wake up and start really opposing the Great Reset and organize the arrest of everyone involved in your town. That's the way to go about it. That's the only way to go about it.